It's time to check out all the cool buttonholes on the Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 2. Now, if you've been checking out our Husqvarna Viking Stitching Cosmos online course, as an option, we do feature buttonholes, but for different uses, such as running ribbon through them. These are stitches from this machine. This is variegated thread buttonholes. I actually got some variegated thread on today, so I'm actually going to make some colorful buttonholes for you. And let's explore all the different kinds of buttonholes that are built into this machine, plus which feet to use and what the differences are. So, and then of course, once we sew buttonholes, we'll sew some buttons in the next video. So in menu A, your utility stitch menu, you do see a picture down here that shows straight and zigzag and buttonholes. So that does mean you need to scroll down to find the different buttonhole styles. Now, as you pick one, you're like, why are there so many different ones? Just touch the question mark and then touch a buttonhole and it will explain what it is. So instead of stitching them all out, which by the way you should anyway, do that when you're stitching out your stitch book. There's information below this YouTube video on how to make the ultimate stitch book. This will actually stitch out a very heavy buttonhole with reinforced bar tacks. Awesome. All right. And then also don't forget that when you touch the Joy OS Advisor up here, that if you were to tell the machine, you know what, today I'm working on some really stretchy fabric that's lightweight, and I'm wondering which buttonhole would be best. Choose that particular technique for that fabric and watch. Let's just see which buttonhole comes up. So this one's a very delicate buttonhole, little rounded edge. So to give us that look that would be perfect for a stretch fabric. So when you're done here, you can always go back to the zigzag. It'll take you back to those buttonhole styles. Remember, we do have the eyelets, which can also be considered buttonholes. And when we go to sew on buttons, we'll be using stitch 58. When you go there, those feed dogs lower for you. It's fabulous. You don't even use a foot. Watch this. Click. No foot. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so let's start with the most basic wide bar tack buttonhole for medium and heavyweight fabrics. Definitely some stabilizer is recommended for this. And let's talk about the foot C that is with the red wheel. So before I actually put this on, and yes, I'll put the foot on first here, and then I'm going to come around the back of the machine and actually physically plug it in. When we do that, before we stitch, the machine will actually ask you to twist this red wheel and align the white line of the foot with the two white bumps on the wheel. That's the starting point. If you start to sew without it, it will come up with a message saying, hey, will you please align that so I know how to stitch, how long to stitch this buttonhole. Okay, so next you're going to have probably a button in your hand, or like I did with the Stitching Cosmos course, I had a ribbon width in my hand. When you look at the base of the machine, you'll notice that there is a dotted circle starting right here at 0. So you're going to place your button, your ribbon, whatever you're measuring, and that will actually tell you how big the buttonhole needs to be. This looks like it needs to be about 16 millimeters. Should that be the buttonhole I am creating? So once I plug the foot in, there'll be a new place on the screen that will pop up that I can then tell the machine the length the buttonhole needs to stitch. Like I said, I tend to attach the foot first and then find the plug-in up on the back side of the machine and click it in. Once the buttonhole foot has been engaged, you'll notice a new area. This is where we can tell it if we want a shorter buttonhole, or let's go up to 16 and, okay, 15, 16, let's err on the 17. So also look at what and where the stitch is going to start. You're always looking for the black dot on screen. That's the starting point. And the white arrow on screen is pointing north. So this is your indication that your buttonholes are going to start here and stitch away from you. So then you're prepared. Obviously, I tend to always stitch a sample buttonhole first, and then I am reminded of that if I had forgotten. So buttonholes are kind of no-brainers. All you need to do, remember, make sure this wheel has not turned, and the white mark and that that white little crown or points on the red wheel are lined up, you can utilize the start-stop button and just go ahead and let the machine start. There's those stitches all the way back, and then it comes towards us with the zigzag over the top. It will stitch back again, tack. I know, it just does this automatically. I always feel like I should hold the buttonhole or the fabric, but I really don't. So there's some nice little locking stitches at the end, and then you can use the scissor button to cut, and it will finish this off beautifully. Oh, look. Variegated buttonholes for the win. All right, so what you can do is go ahead and just go right down the row, choosing each buttonhole style for you to explore. And let's just go ahead and talk real quick. There is a foot C without the red wheel. This does come with your machine. This is a manual version of this same foot. So let's just do a quick manual buttonhole as well. What is a manual buttonhole? It does allow you to go further than the machine allows you to with the automatic foot. It's also a good one to use if you're repairing anything, because you're going to have a little bit more control over how far it goes. Without the automatic buttonhole foot plugged in, you will find a reverse symbol comes up on screen. This is what I'll be touching as I go to turn the buttonhole around to stitch out the length that I want. Whether I've marked my fabric or put a pin in so I know how far to stitch, I'll be starting and stopping it and then touching the reverse button each time I'm ready for the next step. So I did the tack. Now, as it travels back down towards where I started, it doesn't know where the beginning is. So I'm in charge of getting it to that point and stopping it correctly. How about there? I'll touch the reverse button, touch the start. There's the tack at the bottom. It knows that that is the end of a buttonhole, so it will stop after the proper amount of stitches. Let's just go ahead and take a look. So the nice thing is I could have made this buttonhole 4 inches long if I needed it. I could do it with any of the buttonholes that are built into this machine and be able to control the length. And that is what is called a manual buttonhole. So if buttonholes are intriguing but you're not using them for garments, maybe you want to use them more decoratively, head over to our Husqvarna Viking Stitching Cosmos online course. Check out our 10 videos that we have for free you can watch. Those links are below this YouTube video.